As Christians seeking to live faithful lives before God, we need focus. But as we all know, distraction is everywhere. No matter what you're supposed to be doing, there's always something more interesting you could be doing. And often that comes in the form of entertainment, whether that's flipping on the TV or scrolling your phone, or it could just be doing something less important. Sometimes people call this productive procrastination, where you're baking the bread instead of doing the laundry because I don't feel like folding the laundry, or you're working on answering emails instead of doing the project because you don't feel like doing the project. But whatever the case is, distraction is everywhere, and procrastination is a perennial problem for everybody. And so what I want to talk about today is how do Christians approach the problem of procrastination, but specifically this issue that I call the procrastination spiral. And so tell me if this sounds familiar to you. So a lot of times what happens in our lives is we start feeling really busy. We're in a season where we're just overloaded, we're overworked, there's too much going on. And that busyness then and that overwhelm leads us to seeking distractions. We say, I just want to break from this. And so you start scrolling your phone, or you do something else. You procrastinate. But then you procrastinate for a little while and you start realizing, shoot, I'm wasting time. And you start feeling guilty about it. And then you start realizing, shoot, I've wasted the time that I was supposed to be dedicating to doing the thing I was supposed to be doing. So now I feel even more busy. And so you just go around and around the spiral again. The busyness leads to seeking distractions leads to wasting time, leads to you realizing, I wasted time, now I'm more busy. Round and around we go. What I want to look at is, one, how should we think about procrastination as Christians? Is this a sin issue? What even is procrastination from a biblical worldview? And then second, how do we get out of this spiral? How do we get off the procrastination spiral so that we can get done what we're supposed to be getting done and just avoid getting into this trap to begin with? Part one, let's talk about, is procrastination a sin? First, let me define procrastination. So here's my own definition. I kind of mixed a few together. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing a priority for the sake of something that's less important. You're putting something off that you should be doing. That's a short way of putting it. This is different, I think, than choosing a different priority. That's why I defined it this way, right? It's one thing to say, hey, I'm supposed to be working on this thing because I'm supposed to be getting this done right now, right? You're a student. This paper needs to get done. It's what I should be doing, but instead you go hang out with friends. That's procrastination. But it's different when you willingly choose to change the priority, right? This distinction will make more sense in a little bit, but I mean, like, say you are the student and the paper's due, but then you realize, oh, wait, I have actually a quiz tomorrow in this class and the paper's not due till next week. This is actually priority. I need to focus on studying for the quiz. That's not you procrastinating on the paper. That's you deciding, oh no, this is a new priority. Again, procrastination is specifically when you delay or postpone something that should be the priority for the sake of something that is a lower priority or less important. Is that a sin? When you do that, are you sinning? And so I actually raised this question in our Redeeming Productivity Academy. We have a community in there. And I asked this question several months ago. Do you guys think procrastination is a sin? And it was very interesting to see all the different responses. Some people said, yeah, I think it is. I think it is a sin. And other people said, no, I'm not sure if it always is. And so here's kind of just the gist of my takeaway from that discussion and from studying this from the scriptures myself. I think procrastination can be a sin. It can be a sin. And there's several different ways. One could be if you're procrastinating from obeying God. Right, we read this in Deuteronomy 23. If you're watching, I have the verse up on the screen. I won't read the whole thing. It's long. But the gist of it is, he says, if you make a vow to the Lord, you shall not delay in fulfilling it. And so this idea that delayed obedience is disobedience. In that instance, if the thing you're procrastinating on doing is obeying God, yeah, that is a type of sin. Another thing would be, Ecclesiastes says the same thing. When you vow to God, don't delay in paying it. Or, David in Psalm 119, verse 60, he says, I hasten and do not delay to keep your commandments. So I do think that there is procrastination that could be a sin when you fail to do what is right. And this is what James talks about this too. Anyone who knows the right thing to do but doesn't do it, to him that is sin. So there's a type of violating of your conscience, violating of your obedience to God, wherein you put off doing what should be done, a righteous act. That would be a form of procrastination that is sin. But I think that in our lives, a lot of times the type of procrastination we're talking about is less high stakes. We're thinking in terms of, I ought to be working on this thing right now, right? Like the student with the paper, or at work with a project, or in the home, this is the day you're supposed to be cleaning, the bathrooms or something. But you're saying, but I'm not going to do that. Is that a sin? Well, to me, I think that this is more likely to fall into the category of wisdom. We could say procrastination is sometimes sin, but procrastination is always unwise. I think I could say that with some degree of certainty. Procrastination is always unwise. And we look to the Proverbs, to the wisdom literature, for some examples of this. Proverbs 13:4 says, the soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. So this idea that, hey, the sluggard, the lazy person, the procrastinator who's saying, I'm not going out there, there's a lion in the street, or I'm not going to do that because I'd rather sit in my bed and sleep in a little bit more. That procrastinator, that sluggard, craves, they want things, but they get nothing, contrasted with the diligent, who is richly supplied. And so it's unwise because you actually poison yourself when you procrastinate. So procrastination would be a sin when you are putting off what you owe to God. It would be a sin when you put off what you owe to others, right? The first and second greatest commandments. I'm so to love the Lord with all my heart, soul, strength, and mind, love my neighbor for myself. When procrastination causes me not to do those two things, then I'm falling into sin. But when procrastination is just working against myself, then I'm just being foolish. I'm actually hurting myself. I'm craving and getting nothing because I'm not doing what I should be doing. Likewise, Proverbs 18:9 says, whoever is slack in his work is a brother to him who destroys. What does it mean by that? Well, okay, a person who is knocking down a house, for example, he's the one who's the destroyer. But what about the guy who should be building the house but is just not doing it? What he's saying is there's not much of a difference there. Someone's destroying, but the other person is actually failing to build. So they're basically a brother to the person who's the destroyer, because both of them, the net result is the thing's not getting done. It's not getting built. And so again, the point there Solomon's making is when you procrastinate, when you put off doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, it's like you're tearing down instead of building up. It's like instead of being fruitful, you are like rot on the vine. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Again, I think this could apply not just to hard work, but to procrastination as well. Part of working with all of your might is that you don't delay to do the thing that you set out to do. I don't say, all right, I'm going to start working on that big thing that I was supposed to be doing. I'm going to throw my whole self into it tomorrow, right? Diet starts tomorrow. That kind of attitude. That's not whatever your hand finds to do, doing it with all your might. When you have that sort of half-hearted attitude towards it that results in you just putting off, it's unwise. It's unwise. And like I said, that hurts you. But let's go back to the beginning. So procrastination, can it be a sin? Yes. But it's always unwise. It's always unwise. And so we want to get out of this cycle. So I want to give you some practical stuff like we do on here. 3 strategies to break out of the procrastination cycle. How do you get out of the spiral that happens frequently when you are so busy that you seek out distractions and then you lose time, you waste time, you feel bad about that, and then you feel more busy and round you go. So first strategy is define realistic priorities. So there's 2 parts to that, defining priorities. I think very often we go around with a vague sense of priorities, like, I think I should be working on this today, maybe that. And so you start your day already in this fog of what is the thing I'm supposed to be doing. And without defined priorities, you seek out something easier for your mind to grasp onto. I've heard it said that procrastination is your brain telling you don't have a plan, right? When you don't have priorities, it's just going to be easier to pull out the phone. It's going to be easier to do the thing that feels more fun in the moment. So start with defining priorities, but I say define realistic priorities because this is the other half of the equation. You can define priorities for your day like I do. I start the day and I look at all the things I need to get done and I take the top 3 And then I circle one of those and say, I'm going to get this one thing done today. No matter what else happens, this is the one thing I'm going to get done today. And these other two, these are secondary to that. I'm going to try to get those done too, right? Clear priorities. But what happens if I say, here's 10 things I'm going to do today? A lot of you do this, I bet. You go and you make your to-do list for the day and you're like, maybe I can do 100 things. Like maybe I can mow the lawn and do the laundry, and I can complete that project, and I can write an article, and I can call 3 friends, and I can volunteer with that thing at church, and then I can go to the gym, and then it just goes on and on and on. And it's totally unrealistic. No person can do all of that in a day. And so a lot of us get on the procrastination spiral, not because we're lazy in our ambition, not because we're saying, oh, I'm too lazy to even try to do more things, but actually because we're too ambitious in what we think we can get done, which ironically leads you to procrastinating because you look at that big list and you're just paralyzed. Ah, I have all these things I have to do today. Well, I'll do none of them, right? So that's the first thing. Define realistic priorities for your day. And you can do this at the day level, the week level, the month level. Like I think it's good to have goals. It's good to have projects, but actually write down what the priorities are, but make the list shorter than you think it should be, because you can always come back and add other priorities later. But what you want to do when you're defining priorities is give yourself really clear direction so that your mind doesn't default into procrastination because it says, I don't know what I should be doing. The second strategy for breaking out of the procrastination spiral is acknowledge distractions as a threat. I think a lot of us don't take distractions seriously. What I mean by that is we kind of just think of our lives as like, I'm just floating through, just doing the next thing. Yeah, I said this was the thing I was going to work on today. Yeah, I said this is the priority, but does it really matter? Like if I just waste a little time here, a little time there? I think that for Christians who view our whole lives as a stewardship, if we actually think that way, we would see distractions as a greater threat. What I mean is, if you see the way that you use your time as unto the Lord is part of your faithfulness to Him. I want to do excellently at work. I want to do well in the home. I want to steward my body well. And I want to focus and do those things well. Then distractions that are a threat to me doing those things well are a threat to my faithfulness. Distractions are keeping you from glorifying God in your life. You want to tame those distractions. You want to do the things that hold them at bay. And so what does that mean in practice? In practice, put your phone away. In practice, keep distractions out of your life. When you go to focus on a certain thing, don't have a bunch of other things that are going to tempt you to do it. When you set out and say, I'm going to work on this today in my home, go and do it with focus and have that mindset above all of this is the priority. I'm going to do this right now. And distractions are a threat to me doing that well. They're a threat to my faithfulness. The third thing I would add is schedule your breaks. Now this, I've always heard this my whole life. People talk about time management. Every book on time management is like, make sure you schedule downtime for yourself. And to me, that always seems so lame. Like, I want to be a free spirit, man. When the moment strikes, I want to be able to relax. And when it's time to work, I want to feel like, listen, that's kid stuff. If you're just living your life by your feelings, that is not going to lead to a life of faithfulness. It's not going to lead to a life where you're doing the things set before you with excellence. But also, if you never take a break, if you, like we talked about in the previous episode, if you always feel guilty when you're not overworking, you've got this thing all mixed up. As Christians, as creatures made in the image of God, we do require rest. And not just rest, but as we've talked about before, recreation. A part of your worship to God is enjoying the good things He's given you. So yes, take breaks. Yes, relax. Yes, entertainment to some degree is good for you, right? To kick back, spend time with friends. Those things are good. Productivity does not equal working 100% of the time. But what I would suggest to you is if you're resonating with this thing of, hey, I think I'm on this procrastination spiral. I've got too much I'm doing, and it's leading me to seek out distractions when I feel overwhelmed, which is leading me to waste time, which is leading me to feel more busy. If you resonate with that, you've got to take care of the busyness problem. This is one of the ironic things, and I think why we don't take care of this problem sooner, is the solution to the procrastination spiral is actually not doing more. We think that the problem with procrastination is I'm not doing enough because I'm procrastinating. But I think you need to flip it around and say, what if I'm procrastinating because I'm trying to do more than is possible, and then I'm just sort of hitting my psychological breaking point and realizing I can't do all this and throwing up my hands, as it were, and just defaulting to some distraction. So instead, like we talked at the beginning, define realistic priorities, but also define when your downtime is. Put breaks into your calendar throughout the day. Have a decision. This is especially true for business owners and those in ministry. Have some brackets to your day. This is when I start work. This is when I end work. This is when I take my breaks. I'm going to plan for walks. I'm going to plan for time with friends. I'm going to plan for time for entertainment. And what happens is when you do this, you can actually enjoy those things without the guilt that comes when you're doing them when you're procrastinating. You can actually say, no, right now, relaxing is the priority. I'm not procrastinating from what I should be doing because I've decided in advance that right now, what I should be doing is taking a break. And I tell you, it's groundbreaking. It's world changing. It will completely change your relationship to relaxing. A lot of you I know who are into productivity have like a guilt complex around it, and you're not thinking about it right. No, when you stop working, that's part of your stewardship before God. That's part of the deal. But plan for it. And then you won't feel like, like you do when you procrastinate, where you feel like, oh, I'm like sneaking away to a closet to munch on stolen time. I stole this from the time I should be given there. And so I'm secretly having this guilty pleasure of relaxing. No, that's not right at all. That's not how you should be thinking about it. Plan for it. And then you actually can enjoy it. And then it's actually more restful. And then you actually can rest and relax to the glory of God because you're focused on what you said you were going to be doing during that time. So I'm curious your thoughts on this, the procrastination spirals. Does this resonate with you? Is this something that as you look at it, you go, boy, that is something I'm struggling with? I'd love to hear about that in the comments. You can also always email me at reagan@redeemingproductivity.com. I also wanted to mention one of the things we have at redeemingproductivity.com is the Christian Productivity Planner. So if you're a believer and you're like, hey, I need more help organizing, I need more help with this time management stuff, I would encourage you to go to christianproductivity.com and check out the Christian Productivity Planner for Notion. It's this setup that allows you to manage your goals, your projects, your tasks, right alongside your prayer lists, your Bible reading plan, and every possible thing you would need to manage your productivity. It's all in one place. I built this thing myself. I think you'll love it if you like managing your life digitally. Check it out, christianproductivity.com. And I'll see you again here next week, Lord willing. Take care.